Hello, everyone. This is Agnes again, and it's the Saturday before Easter. I love this time of year. The weather, hopefully, has broken, and I can see flowers, and I can feel the sun's warmth on my body. I just absolutely love it. And I love Easter, the celebration of Jesus' death and resurrection. Okay, today I'm going to talk about the word no. But before I do, I want to say that I am especially grateful because I had 2 eye surgeries this past week, and they all turned out wonderfully. I'm not losing my sight. I can see. It's fabulous. I guess it's when you get older that things start to go wrong. And I had no symptoms, so I'm very, very grateful that I was able to have it diagnosed before it gave me a problem and before it endangered my eyesight. Today, as I said, we're going to talk about the word no in reference to our children. I don't understand the problem. I never had a problem saying no to my children. I think sometimes parents think that, they will love me if I tell them no. From an old experienced mother, they will love you more. And most importantly, they will respect you. I have this Betty Davis quote. For those of you who are younger, you might not know Betty Davis unless you're into old movies. But Betty Davis was a wonderful, talented movie star of the 30s and 40s. I like to look at the Turner Classics. You'll see her movies. She was a wonderful movie star. I mean, she had a lot of talent. And she said, and I quote, "If you have never been hated by your child, you have never been a parent." And that is oh so true. Because children will tell you, "I hate you, I hate you, I hate you." Because you tell them no, that you won't go along with what they want all the time. But being a parent means being a parent. Saying, "No, you cannot do this. It's against my rules." Because if you don't start young, I guarantee it that you will regret it. So, no, as I have said, is a word that is vanishing from our vocabularies as adults. The only place where I hear it is out of the mouths of children. No is a perfectly fine word, especially when parents use it to guide their children's actions. No, don't do that. You will burn yourself. No, you can't have that now. No, because I said so. No, you can't go there. No is the ultimate word for the expression of love. I recognize that it can be hard to tell that little apple cheek little person no when they look up you and say, "Please, Mommy." But given the conduct of most of the children that I see today, please is not in their vocabulary. Their request is usually in the form of a demand. And unfortunately, many of today's parents cower and acquiesce to the little dictators that live in their homes. That's a no-no. No is a perfectly acceptable word. And it's a loving word. I have 3 children. And believe me that they have heard the word no a lot. Yes, I may have sometimes raised my voice to the screaming level of wild banshees. It was a rare occurrence. But I'm telling you now, I'm not apologizing for it, because I have said that I'm a good mother, not a perfect mother, And as I have said before, it is perfectly acceptable. I don't think you should scream, but sometimes those little urchins drive you to the point where your voice rises several decibels. I don't know why parents today fear imposing the no word on their youngsters as a tool of correction. Parents seem to feel that if they say no, then their children will stop loving them. But I got a news flash for you. They will love you more. Oh, okay, yes, they may blow up like a pufferfish. They may poke out their lips until they seem to have doubled in size. And they may also grumble under their breath. Now, those are the visible responses, and as far as I'm concerned, are unacceptable. I was never, as a child, allowed to make facial expressions. I dread just thinking about it, what happened to me. I just didn't allow my children to make facial expressions. I used to tell them that, no, I did not want to see any visible protestations or hear about their dissatisfaction. If they had a problem with my decision, they better keep it to themselves. My son once said to me that he was upset with me on the inside. Hey, I can deal with that. I said, that's fine, but I better not see it on the outside. Once I heard about a little boy who was told by his mother to sit down, which he did. Nevertheless, he stated that he was standing up on the inside. He was protesting from the inside. I can deal with that. But as far as I'm concerned, like I said before, any visible or vocal protest was a sign of disrespect and would not be tolerated. I know some of you may laugh that I would take or make an issue of something that you might consider trivial, such as facial contortions. Nonetheless, I want you to understand that from small acorns grow mighty oaks. What you should think about is that you cannot demand respect from a teenager if you have not imposed limits and rules at a very early age on your child. You can't start when they're 15. You have to start when they're 2. The Bible says to train up a child when he is young, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And that is so true. You have to plant the seeds early. Children need rules and standards from the very beginning. Of course, the rules that you apply to your child should be age appropriate. As a parent, you don't put unrealistic rules on your child. For instance, what is appropriate for a 10-year-old is not appropriate for a 2-year-old. I have heard parents, I swear, including myself, say to their child, if you don't do what I said, I'm going to take all your toys and throw them in the garbage. Now you know you aren't going to do that. And your child now knows it too. The child now knows that your word is worth nothing and that there's no power behind it. Do something real, like picking a favorite toy and actually throwing it away or giving it away. Make sure the child knows that if he doesn't behave, you will get rid of another of his prized possessions. And follow through. Follow through is the most important thing. This will leave an impression on your child. Too many parents think that children are dumb or that they don't understand. Children are geniuses, and they understand more than you might think. Once I worked at a nursery school many years ago, and I was having this problem with one of my 5-year-olds. The cutest little boy you ever want to see. He wouldn't listen, he was disrespectful, and an all-around pain in the butt. It seemed that his parents were having similar problems with him at home. So I called a conference with his parents, and I said we would work together to correct his behavior. They were lovely people, but they had just come to their wits' end. They were exasperated. They didn't know what to do. And I suggested to them that every time he exhibited unacceptable behaviors, that they would remove something from his room. He could only get it back if he made a correction. Each time something was removed, he was told the reason. To make a long story short, that child lost everything in his room except his bed and dresser. He tested them and tested them, but you know what? He finally got the message that when he behaved himself, he was rewarded with the return of his possessions. And when he misbehaved or exhibited unacceptable behaviors, he suffered the consequences. Simple. It was hard for the parents for about 6 months, and many times they were ready to throw in the hat because he threw tantrums and screamed and did all manner of things. But they hung in there. And to their credit, it worked. You know, I don't understand why people don't realize that effective parenting is hard. You see, it is so much easier to impose boundaries on a 5-year-old than on a 15-year-old. At that point, you may have to rely on something stronger, like the justice system. And none of us wants to see our child standing before a judge. My little friend corrected his behaviors because he concluded that it was to his best interest to obey his parents. But when he slipped, he suffered the consequences. And as he grew, he came to realize that there are consequences and accountabilities for everything. Believe me, your 2-year-old understands you're saying no. I had a friend who brought her little 3-year-old to my house one time, and the child proceeded to just jump around on the furniture and play with things, knickknacks that were on the tables and books. He decided that he was going to taste all the fruit that was on a plate in my kitchen. And his mother just sat there, just blithering away, talking to me while her child ran rampant in my house. She made no attempt to correct him. So finally, I got up, went over to the child, took the objects away from him, and told him no. They were not playthings. I did not give the child an explanation for my action. I simply looked at him and said no. I remember that the child just looked at me in the face and realized, hey, this woman is crazy. She's not playing. She means what she says. I took him and gave him an apple that he had bitten into and said, here. I didn't offer him any options. Take it or leave it. But that's what you're getting. And as I said, he just looked at me. And I used my voice to reprimand him. No, I didn't raise my voice. I lowered my voice. I lowered it an octave. Let me tell you, parents, if you do that, lower your voice rather than looking like a crazy banshee screaming at them, they'll get the message, because a lowered voice is much more maniacal sounding and menacing than somebody who's out of control, swinging their arms and screaming at them. They know they have you when you start doing that. See, it's a contest of wills, and it shouldn't be. It's your will, not their will. Anyway, the kid did what he was supposed to do, and he behaved. But the mother never gave him any reprimand. I really wanted to come upside her head, because it wasn't the child's fault. It was her fault, because she wasn't doing what she should do as a parent. Anyway, I don't know whether the mother appreciated my actions or not. And you know what? I really didn't care. It was my house, my food, and those were the rules of my house. He was a guest, and he was going to abide by them. My house, my rules, like I said. Parenting is hard. And sometimes you may not see the rewards right away. But I guarantee